Hello, and welcome to Sharing Our Cultures. This is the place where you get to meet amazing individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds who are making significant contributions to the social, cultural, and economic development of Newfoundland and Labrador. Joining me today are Ricky and Joy De La Cruz, owners of RJ Pinoy Yum Restaurant, and Dr. Paul Banahini Ajay, Interim Associate Dean, Program and Research at the School of Social Work at Memorial University of Newfoundland. Welcome back to Sharing Our Cultures. Joining me now are Ricky and Joy De La Cruz, owners of RJ Pinoy Yum. Hello and welcome.
Hi.
How are you doing?
We're doing good.
Yes, good. Okay, so how has the restaurant been doing since COVID-19?
Right now, we're getting more busier compared before because of the skip the dishes, that delivery that we have, and that kicks us our sales this time, and pretty good so far.
Okay.
Ricky's more busier this time.
Okay, that's great. It's good to know that as well. Yeah. So I know you'd been thinking about starting a restaurant for a while, but why did you actually decide to do it?
We are planning it's almost 5 years now, this November, since when we opened. And it's Ricky's decision during the time. That's his passion anyway. So I'm supporting him, able for us to came up with this, success in our small business.
I start to do some catering and some order tray, and then I decide to put the Filipino restaurant.
Yeah.
So that's why I came up to RJ Pinoy Yum restaurant, and we share the food of our culture.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially there's no Filipino restaurant here since 1970s or 60s again, and during the time, and it's we cater our food to the sharing cultures as well, multicultural events. So, and until we came up to offer some space that we can do some restaurant business here in St. John, especially to keep our Filipino community to stay as well.
Right, yes, yeah. So, and of course, your restaurant is employing people here.
Yes.
How many employees do you have now?
Right now, we have our own family. It's a family business this time, and we employed some part-timer
student,
because they have their full-time job, and it's come and go for them.
Okay,
So,
yes.
so we decided, and immigration, we applied for the immigration provincial nominee, and we were granted last year.
Yeah.
So it's a big help for us that we keep our family as well working with us, especially with this time of the year.
That's right, yes. And I think many people who come really appreciate you and
Yes.
the help that you've given to them, over the years.
Yes, that's
But
right.
so you are newcomers from the Philippines, would say. What are some of the challenges that you face here, either living here or with the restaurant?
Yeah, it's been a long year now for me to be here, and that time it's hard anyway, especially I don't have any family here. So kind of, being in the multicultural events during the time and multicultural women's affiliation. So I joined different kind of activities as well, enable for us to, subside our homesickness and until, and same with Ricky as well. So we join our Filipino community, some functions and, those kind of thing. And until we came up with the RJ Pinoy Yum restaurant business. So it helped us, the churches as well, to support us anyway, and friends, the one that keep us moving on with our journey from the business.
Yeah. And it is a successful business, not only for people from the Philippines, but also
Yeah.
local people,
In the
you know,
local,
really
yes.
enjoy the food. I know I do.
Yes, and people they thought that they were closed already, and they were happy that we brought the Filipino food here in St. John's, the one who came up to live in mainland. So now that they moved here, and they're happy that we have a Filipino restaurant as well. It's more diverse community here now in St. John's, that they have different food that they can experience again.
Right, yes. So, Ricky, what is your favorite food that you prepare?
Oh, I love to do our traditional food,
Okay.
chicken adobo, and beef curry cooked in a peanut sauce, and we have wonton nachos. That's the famous one.
Okay.
And then the taco, chicken taco or fish taco, and then the steam bun. That's the one famous here.
Pulled pork.
Yeah, the pulled pork steam bun.
Right. Yeah. I can see the joy on your face when you're saying it, because I know you're the chef.
Every time I see the customers smiling of our food, I have more
Energy.
turning to cook.
Right.
Get
Yes.
more. Yeah.
And
get
I should tell everyone that you make the best hot pepper sauce in the whole province. Well, I want to say it's in the whole world, because, but I haven't been to every part of the world. But for everywhere else I've been, that hot pepper sauce,
Yes.
you should
That's
really.
that's a
They're really
Homemade, yeah.
hot sauce.
They really want us to put it in a bottle so they can. I said it's only for IJ, and it's another preparation for him if
Yes.
he can make it another, to sell it someone else. So.
Right.
It'll be
Yes.
coming soon.
Yes, it'll be coming soon. I think it is, and I'll make sure that I get regular orders from you, because I really enjoy that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, if you have other people either from the Philippines or other part of the world who want to come here and start a business, what would you advise them? What are some of the little tips you'll give them of what they need to know to do that?
Yeah, for us, because we are couple, so I think that's a best thing to have some faith, and for us that's the best thing, that your passion and patience, those kind of ability that you can join together, enable for you to, because first year you will encounter a lot of difficulties, especially from our situation during the time. We thought we're not going to make it, because we started November and it's more snowing time during the time, and until it came up that, people, word of mouth, that will help us to generate our business as well.
It's a lot of trials to put up business, but just keep going. And
Yeah.
Just,
Important.
you will pass the trials, everything.
Right. Yeah. You just
Supporting each
persevered.
other. Yeah, supporting each other, and that's like
Yeah.
the one that we usually have as
Right.
a business and as a couple owner, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's important, because you're the chef, of course, but you've supported him all through getting it started. You're doing it actually together as a couple, as you say. So that makes it a lot easier for people if they have to start a business, that they kind of do it together with someone else,
Yeah.
right? And that's when you go through some of those challenges, it will help.
Together.
You right?
Sure.
Yeah. So what were some of the difficulties, Ricky, for you in getting it started? I know if you were having a restaurant in the Philippines, probably the rules and regulations would be a bit different. But what was it here for you that maybe was a little bit difficult?
For me, it's not a big difficult, but it's challenge to sometimes the weather. It's really challenge sometimes if the weather is like worse, and then you need to close your restaurant. In the Philippines, it's all day. It's open your restaurant. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So mainly the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Better,
but
and another thing is for our supplier as well, right?
Right.
Sometimes they don't have any stock of what we looking for.
Right.
So we have to wait for another week in able for us to keep that that supply that we really need, like the pork belly that famous here anyway. So, and they usually we waited sometimes because it's out of stock, so they get from their supplier as well. So those kind of things.
So what do you do then when the suppliers don't bring in what you need, the ingredients you need, but then you have it on your menu that you're going to serve it? So
Yeah.
what do you do? How do you get over that?
we need to put out of stock.
Out of
Okay. All right.
So only we
Yeah.
need to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we put it as just like, temporarily,
Okay.
temporarily out of stock
Okay.
well, until a week. So we
Mostly-
usually tell our customers that
Mostly this kind of pandemic is really hard to get some supplies. As sometimes the
They're all
shipping,
delayed, the
sometimes it's the tracking problems, something like that. And it's
Right.
really hard to get in the mainland to ship here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most of the ingredients that you use come from the mainland.
I use the ingredients in local.
Local.
Local,
because
yeah.
it's really hard to get some traditional vegetable in the Philippines here. So I use the local vegetable here.
yeah,
This is easy to get, and they support the local business here too.
Right.
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a
so
good
we
idea.
force ourselves to go to the local in able for us to keep our food in the restaurant, to keep
Yes.
running,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
if the supplier is not there, so we support, we go out to the local businesses as well on the groceries.
Right. Yeah. So is there a way in which you can maybe modify the recipe a bit by using more local, or will the
Not-
people from the Philippines tell, this does not quite taste like what we have back home?
Yeah, some quite difference. When I start the menus, I think about that those supplies.
Yeah,
That's
the
why I
supplier.
turn a little bit different, but still the taste of the Philippines still there.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Because you have the spices, I guess.
Yeah,
It's just the
spices. We have the
spices.
same
The
spices.
spices is still here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, what are you looking forward to in the future for this restaurant? You're going to open another one, you think?
That's why I'm thinking soon. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
After this pandemic, maybe
Right.
try to
Bigger
open another
a
one.
little,
Okay.
if God's will. God's
Yes.
willing, if we can open it a bigger space that we
Yes.
can accommodate it,
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because sometimes we usually close or we didn't get some of our customers were in their lineup there, and it's our frustration if they were running out.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, with the chairs or tables.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really wish you success, maybe more Algae Pinoy yums around the whole province.
Thank you.
And be sure I'll be one of the first ones to be there. And I really do appreciate the fact that you're in our community. It makes it so much richer for us.
Yeah,
So thank you very
so
much.
much as well
Thank
for
you
this.
Thank you. All right. Welcome back to Sharing Our Cultures. I have with me today Dr. Paul Banahini Ajay, Associate Professor of the School of Social Work at Memorial University of Newfoundland. Welcome, Dr.
Thank
Ajay.
you very much.
How are you doing?
Not as good as you, but I'm doing very well.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. Well, I was actually thinking that your research area is in Black parenting and the child care system. Now, what are some of the pertinent findings of your research in that area?
Thank you very much. How do I put it? The nature of Black parenting is, to borrow the words of, Indian scholar Spivak, Gayatri, it is the unavoidable usefulness of something that is equally dangerous. take recent incident of the murder of Mr. George Floyd. For many black parents who were watching that video, what was going through their mind is, how do I ensure that what happened to Floyd does not happen to my children? So in many ways, the manner in which black parents raise their children in Canada here is try as much as possible to teach them about how to interact with people in authority, in particular police officers. And so in many ways, they tend the very nature of the house arrangement or the way in which they live the house as a sort of role play, with the parenting figures being the individual in authority, and the children are supposed to be complying. So if children in many ways conduct themselves in a way that tend to challenge the authority of the parents, parents understood that to mean that, well, I'm setting you up to fail, because the way you are talking back to me and the way you are challenging me in the house, this is what you are going to do when you go out on the street. And I don't want to be called either to bail you out from prison or to identify your body at the morgue. And so whatever I need to ensure that you learn to respect those in authority, I'm going to do in this household. And sometimes this brings a sort of tension between them and the child welfare system. I also realized that in many cases, language become a problem. And when I say language of interpretation and understanding the intent of the way in which black parents are raising their children. So for instance, the word spanking is not in any lexicon of any African language. And so rather than the parents using spanking, they use the word beat. So when child welfare officers show up and they say that, well, I beat my child, beating is definitely an assault, and that automatically get the parents into trouble. And oftentimes, some of the child welfare child welfare officers don't understand the language. And so, for instance, a typical black parent will say that, you better not come to the house because I'm going to kill you. Right. Of course, they don't mean that they are going to literally kill their child. It's one way of using those words as to let the child know that what they've done is wrong. I also realized that in the studies that many parents come into Canada not familiar with the child protection laws and the regulation regarding parenting. And sometimes they don't even know the existence of those laws. And they only become aware of that after they have been caught breaking it. Right. So that become a challenge. I mean, one example, is issues around supervision. For instance, in many parts of Africa, it takes the village to raise a child. Right. So the notion that the absence of the primary giver, in this particular case, either the mother or the father, their absence, it does not necessarily mean that the child lacks supervision. Right. Because in many cases, there are other people within the community that takes part in raising the child. And when they come into new society as immigrants, sometimes they forget that they are in a new environment and get caught up in moments where they get accused of no supervising. In many cases, is the area of child neglect. Of course, this is not to suggest that all issues regarding black parenting is acceptable. I mean, there have been cases of excesses, but in most cases, black parents have a genuine intent and rationale for doing what they do when it comes to raising their children. And I will just, give you one example and end this conversation. There was one particular immigrant mother who shared her stories about having spent 3 days, 3 nights, running away during a war zone, carrying her, her son at her back, and crawling on the ground in the night, and in the day ensuring that she bring her son to a place of safety. And after 3 days and 3 nights, she finally managed to get to refugee camp, and through that process, they came to Canada. And an incident happened in the house, and in the process, she spanked her child. And she felt insulted when the child welfare officer was questioning, her sense of parenting love, and said that, well, you never know what I've done to protect my son, so don't question my love. And so these are some of the issues that emerge in the studies.
Right. Yeah. And of course, it's difficult when people come here from other parts of the world. They don't leave their culture behind, or when they arrive at the airport, it's very much a part of them. Yeah, that's their frame of reference.
Exactly. I mean, nobody, leave their culture behind. It comes with them, and it's informed. And in fact, studies have shown that for the first generation, second generation, it takes years for them to, and sometimes it doesn't even happen at all, to adjust to the culture of their host country. And so, but for the children, they learn it quickly. They are able to adjust and become used to the culture of their host country. And that itself also brings tension. So for instance, here, the culture of sleepover is very common and acceptable. But for many immigrants' parents, the culture of their child leaving their house to go and sleep over with their friends is something that they are not familiar with, and also brings a sort of tension.
Yeah, there's always that intergenerational conflict too, when the children learn English quicker than the parents, and then the parents then can't communicate, with the children or with their teachers, or couldn't go to parent-teacher meetings, things like that. So that does create some issues as well.
It does, and one interesting findings in our study, one incident where a child went to school, and because of the behavior the child was conducting, the principal wrote a letter, telling the child's parent about the negative attitude of the child, in the school. Of course, the parents don't understand English. It's the same child who is supposed to read the letter. And the child went and explained the letter to the parents that, well, the principal says I'm really doing very well and should be rewarded in the house. When actually, in the content of the letter, it was, reprimanding the child and explaining to the parents, the negative behavior of the child in the school. So these are some of the examples where languages have become a barrier in the way in which the parents, raise their children in this country.
Right, yeah. Well, now you're the associate professor for the School of Social Work, and you are training social workers, or maybe social workers also take some of your courses. So how important is it for social workers to actually know about the cultures of the clients that they're dealing with?
Understanding the culture of client is not negotiable. It is very important because social work profession is about relationship, understanding the behavior of your client. And if you don't understand the culture and what inform how your clients, engage, and interact, that is going to be very difficult to be able to relate to them. And sometimes the notion of understanding your client is not necessary to accept or justify what they are doing, but try to understand the mindset. But also very important to this conversation around culture is for the social worker also to be aware that they are not also neutral to culture. The social worker themselves constitute a form of culture. And in Canadian society here, there is a European culture that seems to be very hegemonic. And in most cases, is taken for granted. Because in many cases, social workers have an understanding of how society is supposed to behave and how in social relationship is supposed to appear. But this knowledge that inform the social workers' understanding are not neutral to their own culture. So I'm saying that there is an unconscious biases that comes with culture. And that until the social worker themselves also understand that they constituted a particular form of culture, and those culture in many ways guide their understanding of what they see as right and wrong. And it is important that they become aware of that and also become aware of the unique cultural conditions and background of the immigrants' parents they are interacting with. The central question maybe we all need to ask ourselves is, can culture be a universal? No, it is not. Every society and community have their own form of culture that inform how they interact and relate to people. And we need to understand that when immigrants come here, they are not just coming as empty bodies. They are coming with a particular culture. And we need to be familiar with those cultures before we can fully relate to them.
Yeah, that's really important because, of course, as you've mentioned earlier, there's so many difficulties that come in and misunderstandings and, the language barriers as well that also play a role in the communication, intercultural communication between social workers, actually not only social workers, but in every phase of whether it's healthcare or whether it's law enforcement, like they all play a role in how they interact with newcomers. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's even give one perfect example of the importance of culture and when it comes to food. Over here we have a general understanding of what we consider to be nutritious food.
There's a lot of information that you've shared with us that's very important for us to hear today, and we really do appreciate your being here with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Join us next time on Sharing Our Cultures as we share the contributions that individuals from around the world have made to this place they now call home.